Hey everybody, here we are with Nate Eldridge. Nate is the new executive director here at Channel 5 Portland Media Center. Nate's got a really interesting story, and I asked him, could he come down here and tell us a little bit more about himself? I mean, we wanted to refrain from doing too much like specific talk about what's your vision, all these things, because you haven't even started yet. That's next week, right? Yeah. So we're just going to talk a little bit, kind of get to know you.
Sure.
Big picture thoughts. We'll just talk a little bit, see how it goes.
Sounds great.
Awesome. So we talked earlier, you're from Maine originally. You bounced around a lot, but you grew up in Belfast, Maine?
I did. Yeah. I grew up in Belfast, Maine, and in the late 90s, or early 90s, I left Maine and I think that's important because although I love Maine, I think it's important to be able to look at Maine from afar.
Yes.
So I went out west, and I did undergrad out west, and that's where I discovered photography. And I came back to Maine and worked for some photographers in and around Maine, which brought me to New York City, and then to Santa Fe Photographic Workshops as the studio director, and then to Chicago working for a high-end photographer. And after I kind of learned what my vision was, how to work with clients, how to work with art directors, how to work with other people's visions, I came back to Maine to do it on my own. And that was in the beginning of the 2000s.
So what gave you the bug for photography? Was that just kind of how you saw the world? And this was probably previous to digital photography?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you were a film guy?
It was film. And not only just film, I was large format. So 4x5 down, 8x10 down. Photography to me it was storytelling in its purest form. You stop time and you put all the elements in a frame, and all the elements of the story you're telling need to line up to tell the story clearly. And that to me was a huge challenge, and it was also a beautiful release when it worked. And as I got better and as I started working with other people and doing more of it, I got really good at doing it very quickly. And the 4x5 format slowed me down. I run really quick. I have a lot of thoughts. So having to do all of these elements all at once and not be able to see through the lens while I'm making the actual image it just gave me this, it put me in the box that was able to slow me down and be creative as I needed to be.
So was this more landscape, advertising? What was kind of your direction of photography, or was it all and above? And
no, it was all portraits. It's all people-based. And
people-based,
people-based.
Yeah, right.
Editorial, advertising, commercial work, people doing what they do and how they do it. So when I moved back to Maine, I was doing a lot of stuff for anybody, for Down East Magazine, for what used to be Maine Magazine, even for Casco Bay Weekly, which was here, the Phoenix.
Yeah, I remember that.
Anything that wherever I could tell a story, I was trying to tell a story.
So you were catching people where they were more so than, like we wouldn't think of it like a model per se. You were trying to get stuff, a baker at his restaurant. Is that kind of what you were doing?
Yeah. Real people doing real things, being who they are. You know, I mean, if it was an ad campaign, then we'd bring in models and tell them what to do.
Right.
So the joke, the kind of tongue in cheek, I always kind of described it as is I make pictures of people either doing what they do or doing what I tell them to do.
Exactly.
One or the other. Yeah.
Now, did that coincide at all with what I know of the SALT Institute, where they seem to be, because I'm a filmmaker and I've done some documentaries, but then I always looked at SALT and I was like, wow, that looks good, but I'm not a photographer. I'm a video guy.
Yeah.
It seemed like that's a photography documentary group. Yeah.
And when I the one interaction I had with SALT is that I was hired to photograph the former director of SALT for, I think it was the Ballard or Casco Bay Weekly. And and I actually shot her in 4x5 in the old studio. So that was before it became part of Mecca. I've never had much involvement with them other than that.
I just know that's because it is an interesting thing. Like a little bit about myself, when I went to Boston University Film School, they asked us to take a series of photographs to tell a story, documentary-wise, and I was kind of lost on it. I did it. I got in, but that to me is always interesting because it's like you're saying, it's not as, you have to really think about what's going to be inside that square, right? Because you have to tell that story all in that one snapshot.
And then switching from from stills, switching from one frame for whatever 24 to 24,000 hours. It's like one picture is going to be up there forever to 24 frames a second.
Okay.
And that was the difference between and it was I mean, I've always liked motion and I enjoyed still photography is one thing, motion is another. It's the same language. And then you're just putting these storytelling elements together and lining it up with sound or music, and graphics if it needs it. It's the same process. It's the same starting point. So it was a natural transition for me.
And so when you got back to Portland, it was 2002, or you got back to Maine, and you started a family, it sounds like?
In the early 2000s, I had children and did the family thing.
Yeah.
And now one has flown the coop and another is about to.
Our other guest, Hester, she's just with her daughter going to look at colleges now. So it's that time of year.
Yeah.
So were you living exclusively in Portland when you moved back here?
Yep.
And doing photography and okay.
Living in Portland, and I somehow I was really lucky, and in the early 2000s I landed a client that was, and I never thought I would be doing this. It was a first responder education client that we recreated accident scenes to train paramedics, EMTs, and police officers. So I would be flown all over the country to work with fire departments. And literally bring cars together, smash them up, set them on fire, put an actor inside, make them look like they're dead, and then take them out. Yeah. And I was like doing step by step. It was wild. Yeah. We had people hanging from cell phone towers, and I brought in moulage artists from LA to Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, to make people look like they're circling the drain. Never did I think that's what my career was going to be. Right. But they paid me really well. I did it for a long time. And with that, I was able to buy a building here in Portland in the early 2000s.
Which was a good time to get stuff here, right before 2010 or so.
Exactly, which is why I'm still here.
And so photography is your love. I don't know if we talked about competitive swimming, you said.
Yeah, I'm a swimmer
So
too.
how does that all work? It's like, do you go to a pool every day?
Yeah, I swim.
YMCA?
At the Y, I swim every day. Yeah, with a group of mostly men, but not. It doesn't have to be, but it just has shaken out that way. And we've been swimming together for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Some of them were Olympic contenders, NCAA championships. A couple of the guys that I swim with used to swim with Ian Crocker.
Okay.
Who was a gold medalist. So, yeah.
Well, the good thing about being a competitive swimmer is, as we get older, it means you can still eat a lot more of what you want.
Exactly.
Because I remember a story about Michael Phelps. He talked about where they asked him what does he eat on a given day. It was before he won his first medal. And he would talk about eating burgers, Big Macs, all that stuff. And they said, how do you stay so skinny? He said, well, I'm in this cold pool for hours a day, just burning calories. If I didn't eat this kind of food, I would have even a harder time. Yeah. So that's a net gain of it.
Yeah, it's been really beneficial. I was a competitive swimmer from 8 to 18, and then I burned out, and I had the opportunity to swim collegiately. I just did not want to do it. I didn't want to feel chlorine. I didn't want to smell it. And the thought of swimming doubles every day, like 10,000 yards a day, it just was not what I wanted. I had kids, I gained a bunch of weight, and then I saw these people swimming, and I was like, I need to do this again, and it changed my life for the better after that. But and now I hold on to it.
Meditative.
Totally.
And you're in there in the water. And you guys go at a certain time of day, you said?
Yeah.
And for how long are you in the pool? Like an hour?
An hour, yeah. We usually do about 3,500 yards in an hour. So it's a real legitimate set.
And is that, for anybody who's into exercise, is that, you can do that and that's kind of all you need? Or do you have to supplement it by...
I do, just because I like feeling fit, so I have a strength program too. But that's pretty ambitious. Yeah, the amount that we're doing is pretty. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
It's more than recreational.
So, just talking about now that you're starting this Monday, different ideas. I know, again, you're saying you want to see how things go and try to kind of figure it out. But what's your vision of a perfect PMC down the road?
Oh boy. Well, I resist the term perfect because there's always something that's more perfect. But Portland Media Center is this shining resource that is thoroughly underutilized. And I believe this could be the hub of media in Portland. I've been a media professional in Portland for over 20 years. I've utilized the resources here for, I think, 2 or 3 times in that frame, only for lack of really, I wonder if I could use that, and then using something else. Yeah. And there is an opportunity here that is waiting to be tapped. And what the previous administration has built over the 30 years of its inception is where this is the foundation. And it's great. It's strong, it's structured, it is a foundation. We can build the high rise on this foundation. And that's, new media, that's podcasting, that's storytelling, workshops for lighting, workshops for actors, workshops for how to use a camera, not just how to turn it on and don't break it, but how do you tell a story with this camera? Right. How do these stories get told? And then, pushing it even further, like editing classes and having more than one editing suite here, and having, Adobe Creative Suite and DaVinci Color Resolve and color correction workshops, like really getting into nitty gritty on how we do our business. I love it. Yeah. I think it is fascinating. And looking at Premiere timeline laid out with 9 different audio levels and 13 levels and then 6 levels of graphics, and going back and forth between Premiere and Audition and After Effects is exhilarating as much as it is daunting sometimes. Yeah. and I look at these color coded timelines and I'm like, oh boy, I understand this, and it floors me. And like, it's another language that you and I probably speak, but a lot of other people don't. Right. And when people look over my shoulder, they're completely intimidated. Once you get in it, it's pretty it's pretty intuitive.
Right.
And you can really like learn by teaching. Having a resource, having a facility here in downtown Portland where someone can, how do I do this in After Effects, and how do I dynamic link that again, and then it's going to play over here in Premiere, and can I clean this audio up in a different way? And having someone with a resource like that is invaluable to professionals and to the curious. And to combine the curious and the professionals, that's what Portland Media Center could really be, is bringing all the professionals together, having them be members here, and utilizing this as a place to work outside the studio, because everybody wants to leave the studio once in a while.
Yeah.
And then bring in the curious and those that just want to help and learn.
Yeah.
That's where you get like that's where friction and like that's where the creativity and the hub and the spark, and it really ignites something big, and it moves from just being a media center to a movement.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that now technology has caught up to where I was just talking to my folks here, that when I went to film school, we were still like cutting on film and having to tape it together. And this was in the early 2000s. Yeah. And now there's this technology, and there's still all these great stories. And Portland is like become this touchstone for cultural, like so much things going on here. And so now you kind of have, this is like this great opportunity where it doesn't cost like, Mecca or, USM even. There's those opportunities. It's just about galvanizing, and it's very exciting.
Yeah. And making and bringing it out there, and getting the awareness, building the awareness of what is being offered here.
Yes.
And I don't think that's a huge challenge. I don't know that was the focus of the previous administration, and that's fine. Yeah. What the previous administration built is great, and I'm here to build on top of that.
Yes.
And use the people that are already here. I mean, there's so much institutional knowledge that I'm not dismissing, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing without that institutional knowledge.
Yes.
But I have some ideas of where we can spread that institutional knowledge and bring others in, and bring it in. Like, the more in a party, the better.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that I look at is for a long time the focus was on the studio, because it was like exciting. Here's a studio, it's unbelievable. But for 99% of the people that come in here, that studio is not reachable for them. It's not going to work for what they want to do, nor are they going to ever really be able to piece together all of the aspects. So what I always look at it is, what's the real prize? The prize is the end result. That we have Channel 5 on TV that goes out to 50,000 people, and YouTube and all these other streaming. So Then if we can also have people that come in and say, I'm going to film a show, it's a documentary about their cultural experience, things like that, but put it on this channel.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Versus the studio can be good for some things, but it doesn't fit with a lot of what people do. That's small and personal, really big studio. That's why, for example, we're up front here because my show fits this better than when we used to do it in the big studio.
Yeah.
And you look like two kind of ants in a big
right.
room.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the right set. For
exactly. And maybe there's some. I don't want to give too much away.
Detail. Don't give away the details yet. But there's always ways to, with a lot of different channels, because I know you've worked at other avenues too. Putting different sets into different places and making them easily movable and things like that. Yeah.
And that's something that is available with the studio that we have.
Yeah.
And that is significantly underutilized. And that's where I would like that would be a great thing for that studio and that space to be able to accommodate.
And that's where you can also get people excited from high schools, from Mecca, that want to build sets too, because there's a lot of people that get excited about it. So there's so many different things, so many possibilities. I want to thank you so much for your time. I look forward to getting a chance to collaborate more.
Likewise.
Yeah, it was very nice to meet you.
Producing what you're doing.
Thank you again. And we'll be right back.